Record it. In the last session, we discussed about how to connect to the comma separated value files. I think I have covered SQL Server as well. Any of you will take a look at, because a couple of others, they wanted to see it once again, how to connect to SQL Server. And before we work with SQL Server or access the SQL Server via the Power BI desktop, what we will do is we will load some data into SQL Server. I'll show you how to use, how to load the data from your Excel file into SQL Server. So at times, what will happen is, they'll expect you, the enterprises, the companies, they'll expect you to load the data from your Excel file into SQL Server. Okay. So you should be knowing that one also. These are the small things that you need to aware of this. Okay. And connecting to OData, we'll take a look. And the web pages also, we have seen it, right? We will take a look at it one more time. And PBADS and other type of files we'll take a GitHub. We had a look at it. We looked at it, right? How to connect to GitHub data. And the data flow, when I cover Power Query Editor, that time we will take a look at how to use the data flow from the Power BI cloud service. Okay, how to import the data flow from the cloud service into your local Power BI desktop, how we can use that. That also will take a look at it. And then Python, how to connect to the Python programming language and or script, how we can, we'll take a look at this. So now I'll just show you how to load the data into SQL Server using the Excel file. Okay, how do we use, the data are available in Excel file. You need to load that into your SQL Server. And then what we'll do is we'll use the Power BI desktop to connect to the SQL Server, and then we'll put the, we'll explore how we can use, when we can use import connectivity mode and direct connectivity mode. So there are two types of connectivity mode when it comes to RDBMS and certain specific data sources. We'll take it. Okay, enough theory. I'll jump into the Power BI desktop. This is my Power BI desktop. Okay, what I am going to do is I just open the file, multiple source data load. This is the one I have demonstrated in the previous session. And I hope all of you have tried this. And since majority are already familiar with the basics of Power BI, I think you wouldn't have posed any issues, right? You don't need to revise all the things. But only thing is that GitHub, I don't know how many of you use the GitHub data. Usually the data are available in either the SQL Server or in the form of CSV file, or some cases the Excel files. And the data, some cases what will happen is they loaded it into your Azure cloud. Okay, Azure SQL database, it will be there. And Azure Blob storage, they stored the files there. Okay, that and all we will see it later. At this moment, we will understand the basic thing. We'll start with the simple, and then we will go with the bit complex, the cloud and all. We'll see it later. So there are three types of view. This is your report view, this is your data view, and this is what your model view. So this is where you can see the tables, that are available in your Power BI report for creating the reports. But if you look at here currently, there are no relationship exists between the tables, right? All the tables are like a standalone table. Anyhow, let us not worry about this. I just go to the report canvas, and now I just go to the start button here, SSMS. How many of you installed SQL Server and SSMS? How many of you installed? I believe all of you have installed, right? In the you sent a note in my WhatsApp that you already worked with, imported everything. So Priyanka, yes, good. Priyanka already familiar with SQL Server, everything. Look here, this is the SQL Server. When you type SSMS here, okay, the first thing is you need to install the SQL Server, and then you need to install SQL Server Management Studio. Anyhow, I will just show you one more time, because in the very first session we discussed about this. Installation is an important step. Without installation, if I teach you, you will not be able to practice anything. Download our SQL Server for Windows. And then when you press enter, right, when you search this one, the first link which will have the downloadable of your SQL Server software. And you just scroll down in this page, you will find something called Express, and you need to hit this download now. Okay, so when you hit the download now, what will happen is it will initialize the download, and the SQL Server will not take much time. It will take very less time to download it. Okay, you just click on it, it will download it. Look here, that's it. It got downloaded. Just right click on it, and then if you click on the exe file, the installation window will get launched. And it'll prompt you for your consent. Yes, go ahead and install it. This is the one. Select the basic. Click on the basic. So you need to click on the basic, and then the next step is accept. That's it. If you click on the accept here, it'll work. Welcome to content man. I don't know why it went there here. Okay. So the accept, when you click on accept, that's it. So this is the default installation folder for your SQL Server, the Microsoft SQL Server. Click on install, it will take for a while. You need to have the internet connection. It will take for some time. After a while, you will find a message like SQL Server installed successfully. Then you are all set. Once you see the message SQL Server got installed, and then it will show you a lot of paths here. Okay, and the installation folder and the SQL Server path and all. Okay, you probably can take a screenshot and store it in a Word document. That will be helpful for you later point in time. Even if you don't do it, let it be there. So let's say once you see the message here, installation was successful, click on the close. And then the next step is download SSMS. Go to Google. Instead of SQL Server, you just type SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio for Windows. And you just click on the download SQL Server Management Studio. And if you scroll down, you will find this one, free download for SQL Server Management Studio. If you click on this, it will get downloaded, but this one will take time to download it. Once this download is over, you need to click on the exe file and click it until you find the installation was successful message. That's all. It's that much simple. But make sure that you are first installing the SQL Server, and then only you are installing the SQL Server Management Studio. This is kind of a client. The SQL Server is like your backend, client and server. Okay. Anyhow, I will show you now. So look here. I have installed SQL Server first, and then I have installed SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. And then what I did, I just went to the when next to the start button here, I just typed SSMS. Look here, Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. It got installed successfully. You click on either open or click on it here. It will take some time. You need to have patience. It will open something like this. Okay, so you have something like Object Explorer. Just give me a second. I don't know. Okay, so you will find the SQL Server Management Studio. It is a GUI based, okay, graphical user interface thing. And here you can see the server name and followed by the whole thing is server name, which is nothing but your desktop name, your laptop name, and followed by the forward slash and then SQL Express. This is how it creates, at the end of the installation, the folder and all, okay. And the next one is, so what you see here is just beneath the databases, okay. Just beneath, you can see system databases. Don't ever do anything here, system-based databases. If you want to create a new database, right-click on it. So where you need to right-click on it, select the databases here. Right-click on it, new database. I just say some name here. I just say retail analytics. Let's say this is a project name. I'm going to say retail analytics. Click on OK, that's it. A database will get created with the name of retail analytics. And then let's take a look at, retail. Look here, you can see that here that the retail analytics database got created, and when next to the database, you can find the plus icon. When you click on it, it'll get expanded. And these are the objects that are available in retail analytics. When you expand the tables thing, right, you will find the system tables. Forget about system tables, file tables. If you see, nothing is there. Step 1, create the database. Step 2, load the data into the SQL Server. How do I do that? Select the database, in this case, retail analytics. I selected, right-click on it. And with the task, you have something called task. And then if you come here, you will find something like import data. So for import data from where? From Excel file, from an Excel file into the SQL Server. Okay. So while importing it, it will get stored as a table. Okay. I just import the data. But don't ask me, is this how we create the table? No. We use create table syntax, but again, with this GUI, you don't have to remember all the syntax, everything. But in some cases, they will give you Excel file, and then they will ask you to load it to SQL Server. How to do that? This is how we do it. So I just show you one more time. So here you just go to the databases icon, right-click on it, click on the new database. Here you need to specify your database name. That's it. And then click on OK. So that's how I did it for the retail analytics. So that's how I did it. The next step is, okay, my database got created. I need to create tables or I need to load the table inside my retail analytics database. So what can I do? Select the database where you want to load the data, right-click on it, and then here you will find tasks, the task import data. So, and here, what is my file? I wanted to load the Excel file. Your source is Excel file, and then tell me the path and the file name. That is what it's asking us. This is my XLS file. And see, in the SSMS, the file with the .xlsx is not working. So you can use .xls. Now the question is, how do I convert the XLSX into .xls? Just double click on this file, open this file, any one of the file, and then you have save as option. While saving it, you save it as .xls, something like that, okay? I just open it. Look here, this is the Excel file. I wanted to load it into my SQL Server database called Retail Analytics. Okay, my source I define, and now I need to define the destination. SQL Server native client. That's all. Look here, the database got selected automatically, the new one, okay? Retail Analytics database got selected automatically. Okay, the next step is pretty simple. Click on next, and then you just click on next. and you select this one. In this sheet, there are two sheets are there. Better you select the first one, and then when you click on the edit mappings, you'll get to know what are the columns are there. So this is my source table columns. This is my target table columns. These columns needs to be created or yet to be created. But here you need not to follow whatever the column names used in the source system in the target. You can modify this here, product ID, something like location, underscore key. If you want, you can give it like that. Okay. So edit mappings, but in general, you don't have to do anything in the edit mapping. Simply you go and check everything is correct. Okay, I just say click on OK. Next button, run immediately. Next. Click on finish. It is that much simple. 92 rows got transferred. Okay, the sales fact.xls file data got loaded into a database called Retail Analytics. The Retail Analytics database is available in my SQL Server. In this Retail Analytics database, I have loaded a table, but the table is not visible. You need to click on this one. It will refresh it. Tables. Look here, this is the one. Okay, so dbo.ncc, because the file name was sales, though the file name was sales fact, but in that the first sheet name was NC sales. We can rename it. We can right click on it and rename it as sales fact. The dollar is not required. I just press enter. Yes, sales fact table got created successfully, and also the columns that belong to sales fact got loaded successfully. What I do is I'll just create a new query. Select this table. So this is the one from the Excel file. We loaded the data into Retail List database. Then the table name was NC Sales. We renamed it to Sales Fact table. Now I want to see the data. How can I see that? Right click on it. Select top 1000 rows. Look here. The query got generated automatically. All I did was just select the table name, right click on it, select top 1000 rows. That's it. It selected the top 1000 records. But in this case, hardly we have few records. We don't even have thousands of records, less than 1000 records. Hence, we are seeing the output instantly here. So this is my output. But this query got generated by whom? Who generated this query? SQL Server. Okay. When you right click on it, select top 1000 rows. So select is the select command in SQL query. Select is the preserved word, followed by that the top. Right. So top was the function called top function got included by default when you use the option. Or else what you can do is, if you want to see all the data, select star from F5. You can alternate use F5 product ID. Okay. Select star, select star 9, select all these things. Okay, the entire data from this table got selected now. But this is not the best practice, but in the real-time scenario, make sure that you are not selecting the entire data. Instead, use some where condition. Based on some condition, only I need to check it. Though it creates the SQL script automatically, but still we need to take a look at this, whether the column names were assigned correctly. Do we have F1, F12, F13, F14? What is this? What are these columns? Got it? So yeah, 1 second. Now what I do is, now you understood how to load the data from Excel file into the SQL Server. Before that, I have demonstrated how to create a database, how to create a table as part of the database, and then how to load the data of an Excel file into SQL Server. So, okay, this is what my uh, file name, which is nothing but a table name. Okay, so we can give whatever the name that we wanted. The actual file name was what? What was the actual file name? How many of you noticed that one here? Retail analytics, sales fact, here NC sales, right? Let's go here. In that one folder, NC sales. Sorry, NC sales. Look here, this is the Excel file. I have loaded the data from this Excel file into SQL Server, and then I renamed the NC sales by sales fact. If you want to see the number of records, right, select the table, and then you click on this one. Select top 1,000 or something like that. Okay. And then what is the next thing? Yes. Next thing is I just go here and then I want to connect the SQL Server and then pull the data from my sales fact table, which is available as part of my retail analytics database. So what I do is I just go here, get data. Either you can click on this SQL Server icon here, or you can go to get data icon. Yes, here you will find SQL Server database. Can you see it? SQL Server database. I'm going to hit the connect button. And here the server name, my system desktop iPhone. And this is where, what is my thing? Retail analytics. The database name is retail. Retail analytics. Okay. Now I'm going to connect the SQL Server database. This is my server name, SQL Server name. This is the database. This is optional. Either you can specify the database name or not. But the advantage here is if you specify the database name explicitly here, only this specific database related objects will get opened. Okay. And then next, if you see here the data connectivity mode, there are two types of connectivity mode. One is import connectivity mode, other one is direct query. The default one is import. When you use import connectivity mode, when you hit the OK button, what will happen? Entire retail analytics table data will get loaded into your Power BI desktop. If the volume of the data is very high, you are gone. So if the volume of the data is very high, then don't use the default connectivity mode. Instead, you can use the direct query mode. The data volume is very high, you can use the direct query mode. And I'm going to hit the OK button now. Here it is asking for the username, everything. Once again, SQL. Okay, there is a spelling mistake here. SQL Express, no, even this is not correct. This is something strange here. Okay, and usually it will not open it here. Let me see what happens. The P is missing. Express, the P is missing here, but I think it will cause some problem. Let's wait for some time. There is an error here. Okay, internal error. See, because the server name, I did not specify it with the proper name. Rest of 8K BBD and 3 SQL. Look here, there is a mistake here. Whatever I specified it, that is the one was available in the list. So direct memory. Yes, there was a typo here. Okay, and click on OK. In this database, we have just created only one table, sales fact. Look here, sales fact database, sorry, table data. We can see it here. And then you just click on the load button. So it will generate some warning message. You can simply ignore it, click on OK. Which mode that I used it now to connect to SQL Server? The direct connectivity mode. I just show you one more time. Click here and then SQL Server. In this case, you need to specify server name, database name, import or direct query. Okay. Just now I use direct query. Yes, this is the one. And next one is when you click on the advanced topics, here you can specify the query. Okay. If the query takes longer time, to 1 second, I have some visitor. Sorry, guys. I got some visitor at the door. Let me just, I should have paused it. Okay. We will cut it. Get data and then SQL Server. Here, specify the server name. What is your server name? SQL. So how do I find out the SQL Server name? Look here. Once you connect to the SQL Server using SSMS, here also you will find it here. For example, if you click on the connect here, database engine, it will open here. This is another way of doing it. You select this one, server name, copy it, and then you can paste it here instead of typing it manually. And then what are the databases that are available in this server? In this server, a lot of databases are available. Just now we created a retail analytics database in specific. This is optional, but still it is good. Otherwise, what will happen is it will open all the databases And then you have import connectivity mode. The default one is import connectivity mode. And here, it's import connectivity is simple. It will load the entire this table data. Which table data? The sales fact table data, entire table data into your Power BI desktop itself. You see, it's kind of a downloading the entire data. But if the volume of the table is very huge, let's say in this table you have millions and millions of records are there, 80 million records are there, okay, or 1 billion records are there, 1 billion records are there, especially the fact table volumes are very high, okay. In that case, it is not advisable using the import connectivity mode. Instead, use the direct query mode, okay, and then click on OK. One more time, I will do it. You see how it happens. Look here, I just select this table. Now I just use the direct connectivity mode. Here, I can see the preview window. I just hit the load button. Two tables, actually don't do it mistakenly also in real-time scenario, because it will unnecessarily cause some confusions. But anyhow, we have used the direct connectivity mode. And if I go to the data view, if I select sales fact 2, this table uses direct query and cannot be shown. When I select this, yeah, even this the right, even this time also, okay, in this case, I just remove this one. So direct connectivity mode. I will just show you how to connect to the SQL Server database and load one table with import connectivity mode. I just select the SQL Server, and then I just copy the server name and then not retail. This time I'm going to use another database called sales. Look here, we have another database called sales. Here also we have a lot of tables are there. I'm going to use something like BIM customer. In this case, I'm using import. I just click on OK. Let's assume that our customer base is very less in this case. In this case, I just select BIM customer. So I'm going to hit the load button. Since the number of customers are less, then you can load the entire your SQL Server table into your Power BI desktop, provided the fact that the table, whatever you are importing it from your SQL Server into your local Power BI desktop, it should have less volume of the data. And also, this table should not undergo frequent changes. Okay. Now I just go to the modeling view. I just take a look at these two sales fact table. Look here, sales fact table and dim customer. These are the two tables that I have loaded here. This one, if you look at this table, on top of this table, you can see the blue color line. And when you hover the cursor here, you can see the name as a sales fact. The storage mode is a direct query. And data source type is SQL Server database. Very good. And server name and which database. In which database, which server, this table is available. And what storage mode that I used it, connectivity mode, direct query. But by looking at this, just by eyeballing this, you can make out on top of this table, blue line is there. And this is a direct query mode. Okay, this is another way of making out. But when you use the live connection mode, also you will find this one. But in the case of live connection mode, you cannot mix import. You cannot mix, the direct query and all. Okay, you cannot use more than one type of file, source system file. So this is direct query mode, and this is the import mode. This table, look here, when you hover the cursor, dim customer dimension table, import connectivity mode, data refreshed, which date and which time the data got refreshed, it shows. So the customer dimension table, they use the import connectivity mode, hence the entire table data got loaded here. Look here, if I go to the data view and if you click on the customer dimension, you can see the data here. the data from my SQL Server got loaded locally into my Power BI desktop. But when I click on the sales fact table, though I have connected to the SQL Server, but I have used the direct connectivity mode, hence the data are not loaded here. It is not visible here. But guys, if you remember, if I go to the Power Query editor, you can still see that. Sales fact, we have used the direct connectivity mode, but here you can see the data here. Whereas in the data view, you cannot see it. So what is happening in the case of direct query mode is, it is not loading the data of your table sales fact into your Power BI desktop. Instead, it retains that data wherever it is there, right? It will retain the data wherever it is there. It is not going to import the data locally. Simply, it will import the metadata. What do you mean by metadata? The table name, the column names that belongs to that table will get imported in the case of direct connectivity mode. In addition, the relationship will also be maintained. Supposing there is any relationship exists between the custody and custody, right? It will be maintained. It will be maintained. Okay. Got it? Fine. So now the question is, the interview question is, so when can you use the direct connectivity mode or direct query mode, or when can you use the import mode? If the data volume is less, and if the table doesn't undergo frequent changes, then go for import. In the case of huge volume of the data, simply use direct connectivity mode. In the case of direct connection mode, what is happening? Simply the metadata got loaded here. Right. This is my Power BI, and this is my SQL Server. Okay, the sales fact will remain as it is. Only the Power BI, right? What will happen is it will send the query to this SQL Server, and then the query will get executed in the SQL Server sales fact table itself. The output of the query will be sent back to your Power BI desktop. Okay, here the sales fact table data will not get downloaded. Okay, but this is one advantage. The key advantage is, in your Power BI desktop, you don't require more storage space. Okay, very less storage space enough. Number one. Number two is performance. You don't have to download the entire data here. Let's say you have 1 billion records are there in this table. By the time you import the 1 billion records here, God only knows how many times the timeout error you will get it. The network connection issue will happen. And even if there are no error, it will take, a lot of time. After the data gets loaded here, and then if you do the analytics, again, it will take a lot of time. Instead, what it is, simply fire a query here and get the output from here. Usually, what we use some kind of aggregation, sum of sales. For example, you have something called select sum of sales, sum of quantity from sales fact table, group by region. Group by region. You're using a group by because you're using some function, so you'll be using group by. I'll explain group by under later point, and don't worry. So in that case, what will happen is, even though you have 1 billion records, let's say in your business, you operate across only the 4 regions: north, east, south, west. Okay, in India, you are operating the business across the north, east, south, west. So what will happen is, the number of records are 1 billion, even though, right? So, but you have used this query. This query got fired on your SQL Server. What would be the output? Only 4 rows. Only 4 rows will be sent. But the aggregated value of these 4 rows will be sent back to your Power BI. Right? In this case, you are saving the time. You are simply executing the query in the source system itself instead of downloading the data here. Got it? Okay, fine. So now you understand what is the difference between import and direct connectivity mode. Okay. And the next one is the same SQL Server. I just connect it here. And then I think it is there already in this one. Yes, server name is there. And here I just say retail analytics. Just now we created here, only that table is available. Which table? The retail. So I'm just using an import. Sorry, not this one. 1 second. I just select import. Okay, and then we have something else called advanced options. Here, what I am going to do is instead of connecting to this server and then loading the tables from retail and this database, we have an option here. We can say, use the query. For example, you want to join the dim customer and sales fact table. You can use the inner join. Select star or select customer name. Instead of loading two different tables, you want to join these two tables and you want to do some kind of group by everything. You can write the query itself here. Okay, and then click OK. That query is whatever the values retrieved by that query will be available here. Sometimes what will happen is the Power Query Editor, like I said earlier, it will not, you cannot do, any complex group by or anything, okay? Because of the direct connectivity mode has some limitations. The sales fact, we have loaded with the direct connectivity mode. So here you cannot do group by everything, okay? So in that kind of situations, what you can do is, instead of loading two different tables, you can write a SQL query wherein you merge these two tables and then select, for example, customer name, comma, sum of quantity, comma, sum of sales from sales fact group by customer name or something like that, okay? So in that case, what will happen is two tables will not be there. Only one query will be there. I'll just show you now. For example, I'll start to import so that you will get some kind of visibility here. Okay, here I just write select. Let me just see the column names here. Or I just go to the SQL Server and then the customer name. Yeah, customer name is on sales database. Here the first name, for example, first name, comma, the sales fact table, you have something called, ideally I should have used this one. Okay, the quantity and sales is there. Okay, what I do is, instead of this one, I just use sales database. And here, yeah, customer table is there, right? Okay. Customer first name, select first name, comma, and what is that here? The quantity, for example, I just want to see the quantity and sales amount. Or, first we'll start with a simple query. Okay, quantity. And then here, I just use from clause. From, what is the table name? From customer, dim customer, comma, sales fact. So any of the year, the table name doesn't group by first name. There is a, yeah, don't worry, I will make. Whenever you use group by, you need to use aggregation function. Here I just use sum of quantity. Since sum is a built-in function, I'm using the uppercase for readability purpose. And then the next thing is, I'm going to say as C. I don't know here in SQL Server, I don't, as C and yeah, alias, you need to use something called as, and this one is yes. I just say yes here. Okay. And here what I'm going to do is, this one is coming from C dot first name and sum of quantity S dot quantity. Okay. And first what we will do is, we will write this query here, and then we execute it, and then we will see if this one works fine, and then we will put it there. Press F5. Dim customer. Okay. Here what I do is, I want to select the sales database. For that, use sales and then go here. See, we have multiple database. We need to tell, in which database this query needs to be run. So first you need to select the database. This is the command, use it. Use is the reserved word. Let me see. No, still there is a problem here. First name. Here okay. See, this is the syntax for the MySQL or other thing. Let me just check the syntax alone here. SQL Server, SQL Server tutorial.net is all. This is also, a good site. You can just go and take a look at the sales dot customer. Yeah. Yeah, they're not showing more than one table. Yeah, here this is how, okay, as is not required, simply specify this one. Okay. The as is not required. And yeah, that's all. Okay. And here is dot quantity. Invalid column name. Okay. Dim customer. Dim customer. Okay. C and first. Okay. There is a naming convention problem. Okay. First name. Or else best thing what you do is C dot first name. Look here, you can, the drop down is available. You just click on it. The square bracket will put here the same thing. Okay, this query is working. So in this case, I match these two tables, customer and sales fact. So in the sales fact, I have a lot of columns are there. And let's assume that even the customer table, lot of columns are there. All we need is just the customer first name and then the total quantity. Okay, that is what we needed. And here we are getting 2755, something odd here. Anyhow, we will take a look at this one later. And what I do is, I just come back here. Then click on OK. Look here, the value got loaded and load here. Okay, here, what is the problem? Here I did not use where clause. That is the problem. From clause, where clause I did not use it. Hence, it is doing the Cartesian product. Whenever you use more than one table, you need to join the tables, right? Using the common column. C dot cust ID. Look here, the column name is available here. And then S dot cust ID. Cool. And I just select this one and then press F5. Fine. Now it is doing the filtering correctly. And what I do is I just remove, okay, what I'll do is I'll just click on it here instead of redoing it everything there. In the Power Query Editor, look here, in the Power Query Editor, it got stored as a query one. In the source, just below the applied steps, right? Next to the source, you will have the wheel icon, click on it. And then here what you do is you just replace this correct query, click on OK. The 277, right? That one got replaced correctly with the correct values. This is another way of loading the data from you. See here itself, I join everything, I do aggregation, everything. Supposing you want to use upper or lowercase or capitalize. So we have something called capitalize. Capitalize is not available here. We have some upper function. Upper is available. Upper function. Supposing you want to use the upper function, you can use it here itself. See the upper functions, when you use upper or some other functions, what will happen is, for example, this is the thing. Forget about upper function. You want to concatenate these two columns. C dot first name plus your last name. I think concatenation, it is using plus sign only. Syntax, plus, okay, single quote. Instead of double quote, you use single quote. Okay, what we will do is we will give some alias name as full name. I just remove this one more time. Let's see what is the problem here. Last name. Okay. Here, this is the thing not there. What I do is I'll use the full name here. Or else I just combine these things, everything here. Okay. Whatever thing that you are using, right? That should be there in your group by. In case here as is not required. Yeah, now it's working fine. Look here, the first name is Chris, last name is Rai. So this kind of transformation, combining the column. But when you try to do the merging in the Power Query editor in Power BI to combine the columns, it will cause some error in the case of direct query mode. So in this case, what we are doing is to overcome the limitation. We are writing the query in the SQL query itself, and the same query in that query, what we are doing is we are merging the two column values, and then we are directly using that query here. Okay, instead, where is my Power Query editor? Have I closed it? 1 second, let me just, okay, or else I just go here, home and transform data. The same query I'm going to use it. Already in Power Query editor, that previous query was there, wasn't it? So here what I'm going to do is, I'm going to click on this wheel icon. And here I just replace this with this query. And then look here, Chris Wright. It got concatenated. Okay, this made my job very simple. But when you try to concatenate here, right, it will cause some problem in the case of direct query mode. That's the reason why in the source system itself we do it. So because of which the limitations, especially if you are using so your source as SQL query, you need to write a query in your source system itself to do some merging all the things. Okay, so that is the reason why the employees are looking for the employees, to have the SQL query knowledge here. Okay, fine. This is my SQL query, and what is the big deal? Fine. And the next thing is I'm going to use the SQL Server itself. Here, let me, instead of typing it, I just go connect and then right click on it. I just give the server name. Here, I just use the sales database. And then I'm going to use, for example, import advanced option. This time, I'm going to use a stored procedure. Instead of writing the queries, everything, I want to use a stored procedure. How many of you tried a stored procedure in Power BI? Look here, we have something called, this is a stored procedure. For example, procedure name is this one, and then from date to date, let me just open the other one. Okay, this one got closed. Yeah, we'll start with a simple stored procedure. This is a stored procedure. What is stored procedure? Stored procedure is something like reusable. If you wanted to, call the stored procedure more than once, what you do is you common logic you implement it here in the stored procedure like function. Okay. Here, what we do is we will execute the stored procedure. See, this is the syntax for the stored procedure. When I cover the SQL queries, SQL Server later point in time, I will explain in detail. So at this moment, you just think this is a kind of a function. Okay, here in the begin and end block, that is what your body of your stored procedure. And here I declared a variable called date. How do you declare a variable in SQL Server? The variable name should be prefixed with that and then followed by data type, date data type. Fine. I just created now. Again, 1 second before that, I will drop this procedure, connect it. The backend, I'm just deleting it. Cannot, okay, because it does not exist. Okay, fine. I'm just look here, the stored procedure got created. In this stored procedure, what we are doing is we are filtering this table, sales fact table, with some date value. So I don't want to use the entire sales fact table. Based on the date, whatever we supply it here. So, right, so it should go and say, for example, anything greater than 2nd November 2021, select only that data. Anything more than 2nd November 2021, only you need to select it. The older data, you don't have to select it. Okay. So here we have used this variable here, whatever the variable we created, so that it will be dynamic. How do I, now I created a stored procedure. How do I use that? You have a reservoir called execute. Okay. The short form exec. And followed by that, your stored procedure name, SP sales by date, and followed by that, your variable add date equal to, this is your kind of an argument, okay, for your stored procedure is equivalent to at date, you are passing the value as this one. Let's see what happens if I give this one. Anything more than, okay, invalid object name, debut or sales fact. Okay. you want to modify it, you can use alter function. Any of that and all, we'll see it. Look here. If you look at the order date column here, anything above 2nd November. So above 2nd November is 3rd December and all, it is coming here. And if you sort it here, here you cannot do sorting. Yeah. So you will not find the 2nd November here. Okay. So, or anything older than 2nd November, you will find it here. So for example, here, yeah, 20th November, right? That is what you are seeing it here. So you can filter the data based on some kind, this function. Here, we are passing the value to this argument. Okay, the date, we are, this is a argument. You need to specify the argument and then you need to specify this. Okay. So this stored procedure, what we can do is we created it at the back end because we want to do some of the complex. See, in this case, a very simple one. The real-time scenario, you are merging multiple tables. And then you want to do some kind of, left join, right join, everything, all the complex logic, you implement it here. Okay. And then what you do is you create the stored procedure. Once the stored procedure get created, you test it by executing the stored procedure by passing the the values for the respective parameters here. Okay. In this case, you have only one parameter. For example, if you look at this one, in this case, I want to extract the data between the date, from date and to date. The stored procedure name, two variables I have declared here with two parameters. Inside the parenthesis, you need to specify it. And then no count on and select star from this table where order date is greater than the from date and then less than the to date. Let's see how it works. I just execute this one. Okay, here I just first drop this one. And then I will select this one and execute it. And that's all. Here, if I execute this, here what we are saying is don't select the entire data. Instead, we are interested in selecting the order transaction data anywhere between these two dates. Okay, so instead of going here and specifying the date here, from date to date here, what we are doing is we have used the parameters so that it will be dynamic. You can pass whatever the values for the from date and to date. You can do it when you use the parameter here. Okay, when you execute the stored procedure, along with that you can specify the from date, comma to date. But here, you need to specify the parameter followed by these values. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I have created the stored procedure. I tested it here, but the same thing I want to use it. See, in the real-time scenario, they would have already created a stored procedure, and all you need to do is you need to know what values to be passed for which, and how many number of values to be passed for how many values to be passed for the parameters. Okay, that's all. I just copy pasted it here, and then I click. So in this case, I don't have to put, create the entire procedure and all here. Already the procedure got created at the backend. See, sometimes what will happen is ETL, we have some ETL process, data transformation, extract the data, transform the data, and then load the data. Transformation, that is where we combine more than one table, merge more than one table, and we use kind of left join, right join, and we do everything. And then what we do is we will make that as a very dynamic one by using parameters. We create or we implement all the complex business logic here in the body of the stored procedure, and then we create it. Once you create, it can be called for more than one time. Okay, create once, use it for many times. See here, I'm not creating the stored procedure because already created in the backend, the source system. Simply, I know, so I should be knowing what parameters were used in the stored procedure and what values to be passed. Here, the 2nd November, and here 2nd 12 December till December, 2nd November to till December, whatever the data is there, you can fetch it. What will happen? This value will be passed to this stored procedure as an argument, and then the result set, the output of the query, which falls between these two ranges, will be this data. Okay, will be returned. So I just click on OK here. Let's see what happens. It will take some look here. Very good. The P001, 6 records. Look here. Here we have 6 records. We got it. I hit the load button. Fine. So now you understood how to use the advanced option in the case of SQL query. And also I have shown you how to call the stored procedure. Likewise, you can create the stored function also. Stored function, all the things. Okay. The stored function also somewhat same. That's all, guys. Okay, the SQL Server we are done. And the next step is okay. Next one is the database.